Good evening. It's Monday, which means it's time for Enterprise at 8. Who's excited? I'm excited. Are you guys excited?
Sure am.
Oh, are you? Okay, great.
No,
This is
excited.
I know you are, Kevin, for sure. Anyway, this is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise rewatch series. It's been around 20 years.
20 years?
That's right, Trip. 20 years. That never gets old, by the way. Since tonight's episode Countdown first aired, but we're just getting started here at Enterprise 8. I'm Jody Simpson, and along with me is not my co-host because he is either late or not here. One of the two. So we're just going to skip him, but joining me and the other guy that's not here. Yes, we know it's not Monday.
Thank you, Sam.
What?
What do
Monday?
you mean it's not Monday?
Oh my! What? We're late. We've been stuck in the time vortex. Anyway, joining me is tonight is Live Long and Podcast awesome producer and the man who is considering formalizing his service in Starfleet, Dave Mater.
The Vulcans can't wait to see me in a Starfleet uniform, and they're also impressed with my linguistic abilities.
We were impressed with your linguistic abilities.
Oh, were they? Okay. Well, that's good. And of course, who could forget the man that is so surprisingly strong-willed for a primate, Kevin Millard.
It's good. I like it. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway,
Not the first time I've heard that.
You know what? I have no doubt. Anyway, tonight's episode, as I said, is Countdown. This is the 74th episode of the series. One episode left in this after this one for the season, and then we're on to the last season, guys. It's been a long road.
Getting from there to here.
Long road.
Indeed.
Long road.
This episode is about the help with the help from Xindi's factions. The Enterprise crew attempts to stop the arming of the Xindi weapon. So, first thoughts.
It's good. It really feels like in the middle of a bigger story. You know, it's a middle chapter. You know, I know it's the penultimate right before. You know, so it is a good setup for a finale. Although it's, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's part standalone episode, but it's kind of also in the middle of this bigger thing. So,
well, this is all part of the arc, right? So,
yeah.
You know, I can understand where they're coming from on that, but I get you. I totally get you. I agree. Kevin, what do you think?
I love it. Again, I think it's because it's part of this bigger story, and it's just another good installment of.
We're getting
story.
so close to the end of this arc, which is good because we've had this arc, and every so often we go to Wild West planets instead. Stuff like that, so it's kind of nice.
Oh no, the arc doesn't start until I start giving 10s. The rest of that shit in the beginning of the season,
you didn't give a 10.
Okay.
It was only episode 8 where you finally gave a 10 out.
Oh, okay. Well,
8?
there you go.
That seems early. No, I mean this latest string of 10s.
Oh,
No,
then that was episode 18.
We're on 20. What is this? 23rd.
This is 23.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not too bad when you think about it.
But the arc was set up at the end of last season, so it's almost it's a season.
This entire season is a long arc with the occasional rendezvous to other places.
Now, Kevin, have you skipped ahead to the finale?
No, but it's a long line with a bump. It's not a fucking arc.
It is a long line. Yeah.
They deviate off of this story.
I agree. Yeah.
Because I remember, we'll talk about that in the next one, but I remember the finale of this season being kind of a weird turnabout thing because they kind of wrap up this storyline, and then all of a sudden he's in Nazi Germany, spoilers, or something.
That's next season. Yeah.
But isn't that like at the end? Isn't that a next episode, or does that not? When does that happen?
No, that starts in the next season, I think.
Okay, maybe I'm not remembering it right.
That's a great episode, by the way.
Oh, I'm worried about the next episode because they don't end things well in this show generally. And I really enjoyed these last several episodes.
Now, I haven't gone and watched the next episode because I didn't want to ruin it. Even though I will say the way that this one ended, I definitely wanted to go to the next one, but I'm like, I had to hold off. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but to me, it was there was a lot of action in this episode. There was a lot of things happening.
I wanted to go on and watch the finale, but then I didn't. Like, I was tempted, but then I stopped. And so I'm curious to kind of I don't really remember exactly how it all wraps up, but
I have a remembrance of it, but I'm sure it's pretty foggy, so I'm pretty sure I'll still be surprised.
You guys want to jump in?
This episode's great. It's got Hoshi's gonna kill herself to save everybody. Hayes dies. Like that.
That's the clip you got.
Yeah, Hoshi's.
The aquatic ship going through the anomaly and then all the water freezing.
And then it freezing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually freezing as it's cracking. Yeah,
that's an awesome moment in the episode.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's get to the episode. We got a lot of
let's get into it.
To talk about it.
Is that good? All right. How about
there we go.
All right, Hoshi. She was abducted in the last episode, which the previously on shows that shot of Archer going Hoshi.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the Hoshi thing, I honestly the first couple scenes with her, I think, are probably the weakest writing in the entire episode.
I think her performance is not very strong.
No, not compared to what we know she's capable of doing.
Yeah, like it kind of was jarring because I know she's a good actress and she doesn't play this scene very well, especially like the torture stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like she's just there for convenience. Like it's not really it doesn't feel as threatening as it should be, and it just, the writing just is it's a bit off. If I'm going to be deducting points from this episode, that's definitely going to be part of it. Is these scenes.
I think maybe she's a good actress, but maybe that's a weak spot, is acting like she's being tortured.
Yeah,
maybe that's just not her.
Yeah, I guess like some actors are better at some things than others, and this is not her thing. But then the writers should probably figure that out before they write this scene.
Exactly.
So,
well, they've never written anything for her before, so how would they know?
Yeah, they're like, what are we gonna do? She can't have another rendezvous on a weird Ryza like.
Let's try to get Linda something she's never done before in our penultimate episode. So
exactly.
That's true.
But
that's,
I did like later on when she's ready to sacrifice herself and stuff like that. I thought that wasn't too bad. But
it's not all bad.
The interrogation part is not good.
Right. Yeah. I think that the reptilian guy Dolam, he's pretty good in all his scenes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I really like him. I would love to see a form of these guys again in Star Trek. I don't know how they would do it, but
they did show. Well,
actually, there is.
Sorry, you go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Well, just saying, in Star Trek Prodigy, we did see a couple Xindi reptilians show up in one episode.
Oh, did you? Okay.
They don't have much to do in the episode. They're kind of like the security force of this planet.
Okay.
But we do see them in canon after that. But yeah,
I still have to watch Prodigy, man, now that the unfortunate sad news has come down.
That it's been canceled, even though they've already started production on a second season. So I'm kind of curious if that second.
Well, no, the second season's going to be fine. They're still going to release it, but actually,
I read that they weren't.
No, that my understanding is they are, but they're shopping it around. So that means, there's rumors now that the reason why Paramount is kind of on a fire sale is because they're about to be bought. So
I heard that the Paramount Plus might go away or something.
Yeah, Paramount Plus is there's a chance that it might get bought, and the people that are looking at it are Netflix. So that should be interesting.
Netflix. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because Star Trek's had a lot of success.
Netflix will pick up any Star Trek series. They're all about that.
Star Trek series do well on Netflix.
Still does well in Canada. Yeah,
I still watch Enterprise on Netflix.
So do I. So there you go. But anyway, let's get in.
Let's get into it. So then we catch up with the shuttle pod, which if you remember last episode, Reed and Reed, Mayweather, T'Pol, and that Mako, they were gone, but the Mako died. So they head back to Enterprise. So there's like this, they reunite with the crew. As we get the title card here. I love how Major Hayes shows up in the bay here. And and T'Pol and Mayweather don't even mention the corporal guy who died.
No, they're just like casualty.
We got a thing to do, and Hoshi got kidnapped. They're
like, Hoshi's been kidnapped. Oh yeah, by the way, that other guy, he got vaporized.
That guy is dead. And so Hayes is like looking in like the shuttle. He's like, "Where's my guy?
Where's the guy? Like
that guy I lent you?
I lent you one guy, and you didn't bring him back. That was kind of douchey."
What I love is no report. Like they don't know. Like they've been in communication, right?
Right.
So nobody's mentioned that this guy died.
Maybe Hayes was off doing something else on the ship, though.
He wasn't a character anyone cared about. But if it was Hoshi, they would have cared. Right?
I like Hayes, though.
I do too.
unfortunately.
I like Hayes too. This spoiler, he dies in this episode, of course, too. This is his last episode. I thought him going out here and his sacrifice is pretty good. Although the scene between him and Reed, I don't think is that good either. Or I think it's more
the one in the sick bay, you mean?
Yeah, the one in the sick bay, and it's more because of who plays Reed? Dominic Keating.
Keating, yeah.
I don't think he's very good at that either. Like so,
no, Dominic Keating, and as I've mentioned in previous episodes of this, he's a guy that I've started to enjoy a lot more than his character here because I've watched the Shuttle Pod podcast. But yeah, I just think he's a mismatch for this character, and he just didn't play it well.
Yeah,
so,
unfortunately.
But I think some of that's writing. What's that?
And the character sucks.
Well, and that's the biggest problem. I think Dominic Keating could pull it off if they gave him something a little bit better to work with.
Yeah, the character's just not exciting, right, in any way.
If this character was a little less broody, like if
he wasn't always a whiny mess.
God damn.
Yeah, he's broody. Broody's a good way of saying it. Yeah.
Actually, broody is probably the best way to explain
it. Broody, but broody and British, mix those. So,
well, they clearly did.
They tried. Anyway, so back down here on the Xindi Council, where Archer's given hell to the Arboreals and the primates about where did they go with that weapon, the insectoids and the reptilians, and they're kind of explain that they can't launch the weapon. The weapon needs 3 of the 5 Xindi species to launch, and they only have 2 codes. And Archer's like, well, they stole my communications officer. They might be trying to crack your codes.
This guy.
Well, why the hell else would they be stealing her?
What about him?
I like this character, this Arboreal.
Oh,
The actor. It reminds me a lot of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
But,
Dr. Zaius.
But not just the makeup.
Better makeup.
His delivery and everything.
Yeah.
Makeup's
better.
Oh yeah, and Robert Duncan McNeil guys directed this episode. Tom Paris.
This was before he got a commemorative plate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's how we do it in the Delta Quadrant. Back on Enterprise, the next scene is here with Trip and T'Pol, where they're trying to figure out how to get into the spheres or whatever. They're trying to
figure out how to disable the spheres, aren't they? At this point?
The device. It's the device.
Oh no, it's the device that they brought back.
They brought back from the sphere, and this is where
they brought a bunch of zip disks back.
I'm worried about Hoshi and blah blah blah, and T'Pol's like, don't worry about Hoshi. We got to stay on the mission. We can't be distracted by that. I like Hoshi too, but don't be hung up on that stuff. It's kind of what the net result of this scene is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then later on, Trip snaps at her, but this is kind of her pushing back on him initially. And then Archer shows up. So this conversation gets cut short where they're like, we think that we can get a couple of these spheres are specifically important. Like specifically 4 of them are kind of like linchpin spheres. And Archer's like, well, what happened if we were to disable one of them? Would that mess it all up? And Trip's like, maybe not.
Who knows?
We don't know.
Yeah. He's just I like the dynamic later on with Trip and T'Pol, like when she's kind of losing her shit a little bit, so I do like that. But
it was a good scene. But basically, Archer is almost bluffing here. He's kind of throwing a Hail Mary because he's trying to make this deal. He'll go in this episode to make this deal with the Aquatics, and it all kind of hinges on this idea that Enterprise has this way of disabling the spheres and therefore the anomalies and whatever, and
which they don't technically have at that point.
No, they don't even know if they can deliver on this at all.
Yeah, but at this point, he's just bluffing so he can get what he needs, right?
Right, exactly. So that's kind of what this episode. Archer's taking some risks because he really has no choice. And then back on the Xindi reptilian ship, the torture chamber of Hoshi continues here.
Do we all recognize the scissory thing?
The scissory thing.
That's from the episode.
Next Gen.
Next Gen episode. Yeah, you're right.
Episode where they abduct.
As I was starting to look at it, when you said you recognize, I was like, yeah, you're right. And I'm sure a couple of these other things probably are something else, but it's a very quick shot.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I don't know. We'll have to check fun facts. I guess I'm doing fun facts tonight. Yeah, I guess I'm doing fun facts until.
Did you like this speech here from the reptilian guy where he was like, he says,
after the injection, the parasites will invade your neocortex. Once they begin reconfiguring your synaptic pathways, you'll be much more compliant. Before, your primate brain is too badly damaged to understand. I want to thank you for helping us destroy your world.
I love that guy's voice.
She spits in his face.
I know.
I
love
love
that
too when he says, "Don't worry, you won't have to live with your guilt for long."
Don't worry. Yeah, he's great. And then they start injecting these parasites into her brain, which of course is the screamer.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. Back on Enterprise.
Kind of sounded like an insectoid. Maybe she was just speaking insectoid.
She's one of the dialects, one of the many dialects. Back on Enterprise, there's this meeting here between the Xindi and Archer and Reed in like the Situation Room, where they're talking about the aquatics and what they're going to do to convince them, and them explaining that the aquatics take days to make decisions and whatever else, and they need to, and that they also have to catch up with the sphere, and how are they going to do that? And they have Dagger's ship, I think they mentioned at one point.
Yes, they still have Dagger's shuttle.
Shuttle, which is really fast and can get there faster, but
that's a ship the Xindi has.
Yeah, but it's not armed very well, so it can't go. It can't fight the sphere. It can't fight the.
Nope, they can catch up to it, which will come up later.
Yeah. Which is kind of the net result. And I think it's also about going to see the aquatics next. So there's a couple, there's like a series of these meetings. So they go in Dagger's ship, I guess. Then first it's
a phone call. Yeah, it's a
phone call on here, and they're talking to the aquatics. And so he's talking they're talking to the Xindi primate guy about what to do, and they're trying to convince him. And basically they're like, well, they're willing to meet with you, because at this point we don't get subtitles or any kind of voiceover on the aquatics. It's just
which I kind of liked, but because they explain it later that they figured out how to speak English essentially.
Right. We learned your
they don't have a we learned just your primate language. It's fine.
I was waiting for that when they said that. I think they missed an opportunity to say how easy it was.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not very sophisticated at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did like the whole thing with the Xindi Arboreal, where he goes over with them to the aquatic ship, and he doesn't like the water.
My species doesn't like the water.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
it's a good thing that you're not in any.
Just being next to it. But
he doesn't like to be near it either, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. So the Xindi two aquatics swim up here. And
they're two. What are they? Counselors? No.
There's a guy and a girl, I think.
Yeah, they referenced them as something, but I can't remember exactly what they were. They're like representatives, or
and they're like, well, he's like, something's gonna go on, and the reptilians and the insectoids stole the weapon, and they're gonna hack your thing. And they're like, just because they're dicks or because they act rationally doesn't mean we have to do anything, right? And they're kind of giving him the cold show. They even swim away here.
I like the part where they spin back around though when he says that.
He's like, we can stop the spheres, and then they go, what?
Like, wait a second.
He's like, yeah,
listen to this guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got it. We have a thing. We have taken them down. He totally doesn't, or he doesn't. No. At least he doesn't know for sure. He does. He's working.
Talking at its finest. Yeah.
He has faith that he will.
Faith of the heart, even.
Faith of the heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next scene, back with
Kevin's scowl as we say that both.
Yeah. Back on the Xindi weapon with the there's this whole them going to the core here. We got a CGI walk of the reptilians here along this catwalk.
Yeah, which is actually I had to go back on this one because I'm like, wow, that's terrible animation. And then when it goes to the next scene where it's actually the live action,
yeah,
the I can't remember the main guy's
Gollum.
name. Yeah, he actually is walking like that.
He matched the CGI.
CGI, yeah, which I thought was actually kind of neat.
Yeah. He actually kind of
the guy behind him doesn't match. But
but he's like, oh, so it will look like I'm walking like a robot man. Okay,
and he's like, I'll just do the robot man over here then.
Yeah, that's what he does. So, yeah,
I like how they matched it though.
I was like, at least you tried. At least he had the thought.
They gave it a go.
Or was that Robert Duncan McNeil saying, hey, Tom Paris say, listen, when you walk in here, I tried to direct Hoshi in that screaming scene. She didn't want to listen. But
realistically, they probably animated it after they shot the live action. So maybe the live action, he's like, kind of walk a little kind of shitty. So then that way we can match it with the CGI.
maybe.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point.
20 years old though. So when you think about it.
we're checking in on the mind-controlled Hoshi, who's like trying to decrypt the aquatic codes, who seems to be pliable and compliant with what's going on, but Dolam is not so sure. And then he looks a little closer, and
I swear to God, we have to get him to do one of those
Dolam
in one of those theaters.
We're impressed with your linguistic abilities.
I love how he does it.
Yeah, and he throws her to the ground, and then he's like, more parasites for Hoshi. Let's give her out. And then she tries to like throw herself down this shaft, and kill herself.
If we've learned anything from Star Trek, the amount of parasites in the universe that can do these things is pretty incredible.
Mind-controlling parasites are like...
They're all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Regulating bloodworms
seem to have them.
Yeah. Every planet seems to have at least some version of that.
Yeah.
So they send her away to get more worms. And then the lieutenant guy goes, she's added more encryptions to these codes. She hasn't decrypted anything, He's like, you were supposed to be watching her.
Well, but here's my theory on this one. Would he even have known what she was doing? Like, they need her because they don't know how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, in reality, like, what was the guy supposed to do? He didn't know.
Yeah. Good point.
I feel bad for that random henchman.
This is the same henchman who was like, remember he questioned the sphere builder last week? And
yes.
Yeah, he's like, you never will question the Guardians again.
Maybe somebody should.
Maybe somebody should. At least not all the reptilians are as dumb as Dolam is. But anyway, back on Enterprise, they're in the command center looking at how to crack the spheres. It's Trip and T'Pol, and she wants to do something. She has a couple ideas, but Trip's dismissing them because they involve blowing up the ship and killing them all. So, she's like,
I think it's pretty logical when you think about it.
Yeah, she's like, you don't like any of my ideas. He's like, well, if you could get one that doesn't involve blowing us up, I'm all ears.
Yeah, if you could come up with one that doesn't involve killing me, that would be good.
Yeah, I'd be more enthusiastic, I think he says, with the idea. And then he, she says something to him. He's like, I don't know what's up with you lately, but I'm not impressed with you. I don't want to be anywhere near you. I'll go work on my stuff in engineering. So he kind of like walks away, and then she feels bad, and they kind of sort of have a heart to heart here and kind of reconcile a little bit of that tension.
And then he says I'm all ears thing, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm all ears.
She calls him Trip.
She calls him Trip. First time
Trip.
ever, I think.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah. She goes, Trip. Commander. And then she goes, Trip. And then he kind of responds. Yeah. And so they agree. He's like, when this is over, we'll talk about whatever's going on with you. But right now,
I know that there's a whole bunch going on with the Xindi stuff, but I'm also loving the Vulcan and emotional crisis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of this.
Vulcans with panic attacks and basically and other things, So and it's good balance. I think it's interesting how it's written and played by her.
And I think she does a great job with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm with you. Back on the reptilian ship, Dolam is talking to the sphere builder lady, and he's like, we almost got the codes. We're almost ready to deploy the weapon. And she's like, excellent. She's like, go right away. He's like, well, we're running into some problems, but we got the human woman.
The sphere builders must shop at the same place that the Borg Queen does.
With those little talon things on the skin. Yeah, and the neckline of it too.
The neckline and everything, yeah.
And the fact that she's bald. All those things is very reminiscent. But I think also here, doesn't like the reptilian guy say like, why don't you just give us the codes? You're time travelers.
Yeah, and he's starting to doubt her, which I thought was really kind of neat to see. Because he's like, you have the power to like look into the past and the future and all that, and you can't even just give us the codes or know, how to
what we should do next, or give us more direction.
Yeah, or like, how can I get these quickly, kind of thing.
I think this informs us about his character. Like, I think he knows that this isn't right, but he doesn't care.
He suspects that like Degra and the rest of them were right, but he doesn't care. He's just on this like.
Well, at this point, he's got
wants to be He wants power for himself. Yeah. So he doesn't care if they're right.
Well, we see it later when he's in the vortex too, right?
The reptilians are going to be the dominant Xindi species.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants.
Right.
Well, and even shows part of that later when he's talking to the insectoids, right? So,
yeah.
Right. Well, he's not. He's on a laser focused mission. He's destroying Earth. he's convinced himself that has to happen.
And
too.
then
I
he
think
will rule the Zindi. Yeah.
Right. So I just don't think he cares. He has just this hatred for humans. I think that can't be shaken. You're not going to convince him otherwise, right?
And for his fellow Zindi.
Yeah.
That seems like less of a priority, but yeah, I think it's.
But kind of a contempt for them. Like it's, he'll walk over. He doesn't have any loyalty to them.
No,
he'll walk over them to get what he wants.
Right.
Yeah.
Even his own reptilians, we see he's not too sentimental about them either. And so back on Enterprise, they talk more about this plan to go after the spheres and what can they do. And this is where I think they tell him, we don't really know yet. He's like, yeah, you better get to work. I told the aquatics we were going to shut down the stuff, so you better have that going on. I think is there anything else in the scene I'm forgetting?
I don't remember.
No,
just Archer being grumpy.
Just Archer throwing around orders. Then there's this scene here where he talks to the Zindi primate guy back on Enterprise. They do this walk and talk down the hallway. It kind of ends with them talking about Degra and the fact that Degra was such a well-respected figure. I think this scene is meant to kind of explain why the insectoids turn on Dolam and the reptilians sort of in the vortex.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that and the fact that they're kind of working towards something post a piece.
Well, and if we go back to when we were first introduced to the Zindi and we're first introduced to Degra, everybody seems to really respect Degra. Like Degra is like a high-rated scientist / science officer kind of guy and all that. And then obviously all this crap goes down. But I think you're right. I think that's exactly what they were trying to portray here. I don't know if they did it that effectively, but it was at least attempted anyway.
I just was like, why? I think they have to have the scene because the insectoid thing at the end where he turns it just wouldn't connect well in this episode, even though you could maybe connect the dots about why the insectoid.
Yeah, I think it makes it easier with the insectoid thing later on. Yeah, I agree.
Ben, back on the bridge here. Just wanted to mention Reed sits more in Archer's chair than Archer does.
Reed's like, "Oh, Daddy's back."
Yeah, get out of the chair.
Get out of the chair, asshole.
Yeah, and this is where they are headed to. Oh yeah, this is where the aquatics call up and say, "We're going to help you, but you better live up to your end of the bargain, Archer, and help us get down these spheres." Right?
Which I kind of like that because that also makes for an interesting kind of double arc at the end of this episode, which is kind of nice. Like we have to have two groups because he has to still fulfill that promise to them, because essentially if he doesn't, that'll be a bigger problem.
They're not doing this for purely altruistic reasons, right?
Exactly.
Whereas the primates and the arboreals seem a little bit more nice.
They're kind of with Archer, yeah.
Like I kind of feel like you could go, okay, we'll do that, but can we go make sure our planet doesn't explode first and then come back?
Yeah.
But no, we got to go now.
Well, I don't think Archer has the option at this point because basically that's it. Well, they just saw a whole bunch of we're jumping ahead here, but they see a whole bunch of their ships get destroyed basically and frozen and destroyed. And
they protect Enterprise throughout the battle.
Yeah,
right?
It is true.
Yeah. So I think that
in a way,
it's interesting.
It's an honor thing, I guess.
Because I guess the writers are like, there are two belligerent species, the insectoids and reptilians, and you got two kind of nice species in the arboreals and the primates, and the aquatics, I guess, are somewhere in between, right? They're meant to be
they're kind of the neutral,
the swing vote of the group,
They're sweet.
I love that they made them very powerful, indecisive.
Yeah, they're the most powerful out of all of them.
Powerful.
They have the best
powerful but slow.
They're slow, but they have the most powerful ships, and their ships are huge compared to everybody else's.
Yeah, I love their ships. I love this idea of people swimming around inside of a spaceship.
That's actually one thing. Come to think of it, that is one thing I wouldn't mind saying something about because all the Zindi ships are actually very unique, and they all have applications based on what they are. So it's kind of neat to see.
I'm now able to tell the difference. I'm like, oh, that's an insectoid ship. Oh,
that's an insectoid ship. That's a primate ship. Yeah.
Right.
Like the insectoid ship looks very much like almost like a spider kind of configuration, and then you have obviously the aquatic ships all have these domes with water in them, and
they kind of look like those. They kind of have those their uniforms, those long stranded things, and stuff.
Yeah.
So
cool.
So it's cool. Sphere builders are like, this isn't looking good. The Archer just made a deal with the aquatics, and now it's looking like we're going to lose.
They look like they're in a Back to the Future photo. Like
Yes.
they're disappearing, right? If their parents don't kiss.
To me, this was more like
Crazy.
a intro to like a soap opera. You know how they used to do like the
Days of
soap
their
operas?
lives.
Yeah,
And these are the days of
These
the
are the-
sphere builders.
Yeah. And they're like, maybe we need to get intervene in here or something like that. I was like,
And there's and the last scene that you see all of them talking, it kind of fades out the last person and it fades out kind of like to the mist, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I have a question about these sphere builders. Apparently, they have the ability to interfere in a very powerful way
through the spheres.
Why not do it more?
I know.
Why leave this up to?
I don't know if we ever
manipulating
get
the
an answer to that.
reptilians?
I think they are still limited on what they can do. I always got the impression that it was more like a read-only kind of thing, where like they can see it, but they can't do anything with it. Like
The only
But they
thing we
do
see
in
that
this
they can-
episode.
The only thing we see that they can do is affect the sphere. So within the expanse, they seem like they can do things.
they can control things in the expanse, but I don't think they can actually control time. Like they can only see into it. Right. So they can't really modify anything. All they can do is they can see what's going to happen. They can see the outcomes.
No, I know that. Like, what I don't mean like why do they interfere in time? I mean, why don't they destroy Enterprise with their sphere?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what they were trying to do at one point.
Not very
but
well.
we're in episode 26, 25. They've been in the expanse for almost 8 months.
Yeah, that's true.
Why wait until now?
Well, every time Enterprise flies up to a sphere, why don't they do? Yeah, it's good. Like I don't know, they're selective. They seem to wait a really long time here to get in the fight. You know, but I don't have.
Well, and I think
answer.
they're supposed to be kind of like the puppet masters, right? Like they're supposed to just be in the background. And they're supposed to be controlling everybody else. Essentially, they're not supposed to be really interfering in that way.
Sure, and that's why I found it like, I mean, we're not there yet, but found it weird that they did interfere in this episode.
But it exposes them.
Didn't think they had
it
the
exposes
ability.
them though, yeah.
And that's what the insectoids figured out after they do interfere. They're like, oh, isn't it nice that all those anomalies just happen to help us out in the fight? Oh, maybe they're right. Maybe the Guardians did build the spheres because the Guardian they don't think that the Guardians built the spheres. They know the spheres are bad. They don't call them sphere builders. They call them Guardians, right? So now they're saying, oh, the Guardians are
these guys did actually build this huge network of death spheres.
Right. Yeah, they've been killing us and causing all kinds of issues. And so, yeah, like I guess that's the answer as to why they've waited so long to get into it. Because
and once the insectoids figured it out, they got wiped out anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Because they didn't want to reveal themselves. Okay, all right.
That's my take anyway.
Yeah. Back on the weapon here, Hoshi's doing more encryptions. I think this time a second round of parasites works, and they're able to crack all the aquatic codes. So that's
they end up getting the code eventually.
They get the code. Back, and then we get a montage here on Enterprise as they're preparing for the fight. Voiceover by Archer, where he's like, the crew's coming together. We've been in the Expanse for 8 months, but we're ready to go. And they have this fleet here, and we don't see Enterprise. We know in the battle, the Enterprise will come out of that aquatic ship.
That huge ship, yeah.
The
ship is massive though, eh? Like
that's
the aquatics, the aquatics really know how to like put on the show, Like
they need a crew that's not just 2 aquatics on a ship, right?
But
they're huge. The ship has to be huge.
Well, if you look at this, that isn't the only ship either. If you look up at the top right of that ship, there's another one in the far distance, right?
I think there's at least 3 aquatic ships here.
Well, I think they said
6.
8 or something.
6.
That's right. And then 3 are destroyed in the
fight. Wow. So they go through the vortexes, and they're on their way to meet up with the weapon because the weapon had to stop because it could only arm if it dropped out of propulsion or whatever.
It can't be moving while it's being armed, I guess.
And while they're on their way, there's this scene here between Hayes and Reed where Hayes, I get you didn't care for the scene where Reed's like, do you blame me for that guy dying?
Of course, he's like, if I contributed that in any way, are you fucking kidding me? If you're the only reason they felt like they didn't belong on that ship, him alone.
Yeah.
Nobody else. Literally were the worst. Yeah.
Just Reed.
Everybody else was kind of happy they were there, but you were kind of a dick about it.
If I contributed to that, fuck you, Reed. fuck?
Yeah,
this guy?
because he's like, when we first came on the ship, we felt like outsiders. Now we feel like we're just one crew,
Yeah.
the crew of the Enterprise, right? And so,
God, I hate this character.
Maybe you'll like Reed in season 4, Kevin.
good thing Adam's not here. I think he'd be with you. He'd be like, screw
Reed.
all this, screw this guy.
Reed as a character sucks.
Yeah,
Nothing against the actor, but
well, he's like, "Do you blame me for Hayes or whatever the guy's name was dying, the corporal dying?" And he goes, "Not really, but kind of. I don't like the fact that he was under your command when he died, and I kind of get that. And I think if the tables were turned, if one of Reed's guys had died under Hayes' command, I think there would have been a similar issue.
This part of the scene was great, and I think it made Hayes look awesome.
Hayes is
because
awesome. I like
because he was upset. Reed said that he was upset because this person died under his command, and Hayes changes right away. He's like, okay, I understand.
I get it. Yeah.
Right. It's great. It's a great scene for that. But yeah, Reed sucks.
Yes, Reed does.
But I guess when but these two have had an arc this season for better or worse, Hayes and Reed, and it comes to an end in this episode. So this is
and Hayes is still winning all the way to the end.
Oh yeah,
Hayes is dead at the end of this episode, and I still think
one guy died in this episode. The wrong security guy.
There's Mr. Porthos right there.
Porthos there. They're having like a sit-down dinner here. The senior staff, Archer and Trip and T'Pol. They haven't had a scene like this, especially with the ship being all in disarray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is also this is the whole typical final dinner thing, right? Like it's like this is the last dinner before they part ways too.
Because out the window, they're inside of the Xindi aquatic ship right now, and I was like, because initially I'm like, where are the stars? Why? What is outside?
You know what? I didn't even catch that, but
yeah,
now that I see that, I'm like, oh yeah.
You know,
I like this scene. I do.
That is a terrible screen cap.
I do wonder why they always decide to eat. Like, presumably they know when they're going to arrive.
Yeah.
Why do they decide to start eating without enough
still
time to
eat.
finish their meal before they
just
get
get interrupted to say we're here now?
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor
Maybe the
there.
aquatics didn't tell them. They're like, we'll get there when we get there. Okay.
Actually, yeah. When are we going to get there? We haven't decided yet.
We haven't decided. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. We're deliberating.
Well, and they're
No,
also sitting. They're in a bay in the ship, so they don't really know exactly what's going on outside them.
Yeah.
True.
You know,
But
they have to-
I like this. I like when she's like, "You could buy me a drink if you want." Like,
At the 602 Club.
yeah.
the 602 Club,
And she's talking about joining Starfleet because they're like, are you going to go back to the high command when it's all done? She's like, no. And I'm thinking about joining Starfleet. And Trip's like, I can't wait to see you in a Starfleet uniform. Can't wait to see Ambassador Soval lose his shit.
Yeah.
So it was a nice scene. It's pretty good.
Added a little bit of comedy to release the tension a bit, which was good.
And that despite all this romantic tension between Trip and T'Pol, this trio kind of still works, independent of that. So I thought it was good. And then back on the Xindi weapon, they're getting ready to get everything going. I think they tell Dahlem it's ready to go. He goes, instead of saying I'll be in my ready room, he goes, I'll be in my thermal chamber.
Yeah. Well,
He's a reptile.
He's a cold-blooded animal,
I just like a nice little touch there. I'll be in my thermal chamber. But just then, when he's heading to his thermal chamber, they pick up a signal, and at first it looks like there's just a bunch of arboreals coming at them. He's like, I don't know.
He's like, whatever.
Send a patrol to get them.
Yeah, send a patrol to go deal with them. It's fine.
Right. Because their ships are more powerful, we're told, than the arboreals. But then the aquatics all show up here, and they're like, we got to fight. And
he's like, now the aquatic ships have showed up, and he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, then he shits his pants.
Yeah, then he's like, fuck.
Right. So then Archer, we don't know yet. This is the reveal. Archer's like, we're ready. And we see the bay open here, and Enterprise flies
Which I think was a cool reveal.
Yeah.
It was
we kind of knew they were coming anyway. It wasn't like a surprise.
Well, we knew they were going to be there, but we didn't see them, right? They were like, where the fuck are they?
I guess the surprise is for Dahlem. He's like, surprise, we're here.
Surprise, they're working with them. Yeah.
So they're coming out here, and the fight kicks off here. Big space battle fight between the Xindi and Enterprise.
I did like the line just before they left the ship, though, because he basically Archer's like, he goes to Reed and he's like, so how do you feel about fighting? And he's like, just say the word or something like that.
Yeah. I know I'll press fire phasers. Don't worry.
Yeah. He's like, blowing up shit. That's the only thing I'm good at.
Is he though?
And
No.
And Mayweather's required to do quite some dynamic flying in this episode too.
Yeah.
While it's going on. So, do you guys like the battle?
Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
Is this okay? I know this episode won the Emmy for outstanding visual effects, and I'm trying to think
the one. Yeah.
Is it the battle that mostly is like?
Well, I would assume it is.
I think the battle, and then just the added touch of that ship.
You gotta remember, Enterprise is
the
the first show that used all CG ships, right? Like they didn't use any practical models for this series because that was a cost saving measure for them as well, right? So it's
it works better. You can do more of the CGI ship, although
you can, but the walking of characters looks terrible.
Yeah, and space battles look okay, but there is something with a practical model ship when especially with close-ups that is hard to.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why we don't see many close-ups. But when we do see the close-ups, they're not terrible.
They're not terrible, but
I think they have a lot more versatility here as well. They have the ability to do pretty much whatever the hell they can, whereas with a model, it's a little bit harder.
And I think even in Deep Space Nine and Voyager, they were doing a little bit of that stuff, But,
well, think about Next Gen. Next Gen used all practical models for the most part. And when we had space battles, we didn't have nothing this epic. The epic kind of started in DS9, right? The Dominion War DS9 stuff was awesome.
At least you could see the ships like fly around and stuff in Deep Space Nine and in Voyager. But yeah, Next Gen, it'd be like two ships looking at each other, fire, 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 fire.
Exactly, yeah. And and TNG, with the exception of maybe Wolf 359, when we got to see ships kind of buzzing around the Borg cube and stuff like that, but. That must have cost a fortune to make.
But only they did it for the Deep Space Nine pilot, because we don't actually see it in the Next Gen episode, right?
That's true.
So,
we don't. Yeah.
And they only had to make a couple scenes of that for the pilot. So anyway, the fighting's continuing here. You see how much bigger this weapon, this sphere weapon is.
The sphere is huge. Like it's
massively huge.
Yeah. I like the fact that they're taking out all the generators, though.
All the green things.
Taking them all off. Yeah.
Yeah, they learned from that other thing. Shoot the glowy eyes.
Always shoot glowy eyes.
That's in the report that Reed gave to Hayes. Like he should have shot the eye. If
he shot the eye, it'd still be alive.
Right. Yeah. And we see how the insectoids are coming at Enterprise, but the aquatics kind of like get in the way.
I love the fact that Enterprise is just beating the hell out of. Like we don't normally see that much damage.
Never.
It's awesome to see
for a ship. No, like Voyager would have its moments, but they would always fix it up a little too quick sometimes.
They'd be like, let's go for. Janeway's like, I'm gonna go for a coffee, and it should be all fixed by then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like that the ship has been beaten up for like a half a season.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like there's like pieces missing of the ship. Like part of the saucer section actually has a big cutout of it right now. So it's
and then guys, we finally get the moment here. The reason the Makos were brought on this mission, which is a very legitimate reason, a search and rescue operation, go get Hoshi, and they beam in here. I think Reed's like, I want to go with you, and Hayes is like, you should be on the bridge because that's what you do. This is what I do.
I go over to other ships and I shoot down corridors. You stay on the ship and shoot torpedoes. That's your fucking job.
The last time you left the ship, one of my guys died. Yeah. All right,
you're not coming with us.
I'm going to take care of this one.
Right. Exactly.
There's only 4 of us. That's like a 25% survival rate.
That would have been awesome if that was the last scene when he's dying and he just looks at him. He goes, "That is how you run a mission."
Yeah, that would have been sweet.
That's how we do it.
Or he looks over with his last breath and he's just like, so did you learn anything?
Because like in real life, how like the Navy and the Marines always throw shade at each other and kind of like to.
Well, they each have specific
functions, right?
Yeah, the Marines are always first in. So.
The Marines are like what the Makos are, and basically
that's what the Makos are.
Starfleet is kind of like the Navy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like I wish there was a bit of a rivalry there. I think that would be fun if you could build that.
Well, there was a little bit earlier in the season. We had a couple scenes where they were both doing the workout training and stuff like that. And, they're both trying to fight each other.
Yeah,
and
I didn't need any more of that.
No, I think I'm good with it too.
I at least with Reed, if the rest of the crew was kind of having a fun,
I love the
concept of rivalry. That would have been fine.
I love the concept of the Makos. I really wish they would do more like of that type of thing in Star Trek, because we have to remember that all of these ships really are designed for exploration. They're not designed for military use. with the exception of obviously.
But the Federation is at war fairly often. Actually.
Almost all the time. They almost have somebody that they're after.
It seems like once a decade they get into a war with somebody.
They say their ships aren't warships, but why are there so few of them and there's still this huge force in the quadrant?
They're powerful ships. Yeah,
right.
Because they go back and forth because sometimes they're fighting the Klingons or the Cardassians or Romulans, and sometimes they're in peacetime. And I think at peacetime they're more just let's be explorers. But
the ships are all warships. You're listening to propaganda from Starfleet.
Yeah,
all the ships are warships.
Well, that's actually one of the only things I liked about the remake things is when they introduced that big dark ship. I can't remember the name of it. The one that RoboCop ended up running.
Into Darkness.
I fucking love that ship though. Absolutely love the ship. I'm
big.
That is totally a war.
What was
ship.
that class? It was I can't remember.
Oh, it was it was gross and bad.
It was awesome.
Every time I see that ship in Star Trek Online, I hate it. I'm like,
I love it.
Anyway, so the Mako's shocked this reptilian guy with their little stun gun here or whatever. But that was a fun little.
Well, they all carry tasers. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah,
so reptilians, the phaser on stun doesn't work, but an old school taser
does.
Hey,
it's good to know.
I've seen tasers take down 400 pound Louisiana man out of on traffic stops, so it must make sense.
I had forgotten that the rifles didn't work against the reptilians.
Yeah, they really don't work that well.
Anyway, so then they blow into Hoshi's cell and
the little pipe bomb thing.
A little thing. They get her out, but she's passed out. She can't revive her. He can't raise comms in this room. There's some kind of blockout. So
I love the fact that they still use they're using the classic communicators, though. I love that.
Yeah. Even though it's not practical.
Practical.
Military guys now wouldn't use that.
No, they would have earpieces.
They'd have an earpiece or something.
They would have they would have the bone conducting ones. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so he picks her up and they head to the beam out point. Meanwhile, the sphere builder.
Meanwhile, back on Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, these are the Days of Our Lives, or Bold and the Beautiful. I can't remember which show had this intro.
Y&R, I think, is probably.
Y&R had
it was always that white intro kind of thing.
Yeah. And this is where they're like, we're gonna lose. We need to intervene. So this is when they activate the spheres, which of course tips their hand, like we mentioned. It shows that they are very much in control of those spheres, and we see it kind of swell here and create a bunch of anomalies.
We see this before, right? Like we don't see this type of power out of one of these spheres. This is the first time we see this, right? Like we see the distortion thing from the spheres, but we don't see this blast thing.
I don't think so. But I think we've seen it. I think we've seen it warm up before, maybe, but I can't remember.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Anyway, so the anomalies are coming at them. We see, it's hard to show these in stills, but they're
well, yeah, because everything's all shaky cam at this point.
Yeah, and it's coming at the fleet, and this
is such a cool ship design, though.
Yeah, I want one.
I think it's neat. I love the glass cracking, though.
And then we see the glass cracking and this water turning to ice, and
it literally is freezing as it's coming out. Yeah, that's so cool.
I took a lot of shots here just because it was such.
Now,
a cool
there's no way they could have did that with a practical model.
No, and I think this is what won it its award.
Something like this.
It looks it looks real, like in the scene. Good.
Yeah,
looks clean. You see the water.
I think this is the one that they rendered the most of. This is the one that they really they put the slider all the way over to quality, and then rendered this one
over and over again.
We weren't rendering for speed on that one.
That one took months. That scene just to render that.
Yeah, they had to get Pixar or somebody to do it. Yeah.
We see this other scene here too, where this arboreal ship gets crushed inside the anomaly.
And I like how it crushes too, because it kind of spins as it's crushing, and then it kind of implodes, and then it just kind of all just disappears. Which is another thing that I like compared to the practical ones, because the practical ones everybody just blew up in a little kind of thing, and that was
this scene. Someone got a new couple of plugins for their program, and they were really
they're like, we got to use that one too.
It's cool sequences. You can see why this episode won the Emmy.
Yeah, 20 years ago though. This is cool shit. Yeah.
20 years?
20 years, Trip.
Yeah. Then there's a firefight here in the hallway of the reptilian ship while the Makos are trying to get out with Hoshi. You know, he's like, "Hey, we'd like to get out of here."
And this is the old trope where the commander stays behind and then he ends up getting hurt at the end. You know.
Yeah, but meanwhile, the transporter, of course, is broken.
We've got a malfunction.
We got a malfunction.
I'm surprised they didn't get Mayweather down there. Mayweather, come down here and fix this.
He seems to have a thing with the transporter.
He does. Yeah.
He threw the stun grenade here, Hayes, at one point at the reptilians.
I don't think it was a stun grenade as it was like a compression grenade.
It
literally threw them.
Yeah, it was like a pressure wave or something.
Yeah, it was like an EMP or something. It was like boom, and
they get thrown across.
You
know, and he's just like, cool. You know,
we have all the cool shit. Yeah.
Are they dead or I was unclear?
It didn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And so they're all going here, and so I think Trip gets the transporter back online, but he can only beam them out, of course, 2 at a time. That's another
There's 5 people to beam out, so you know how this is going to go.
Yeah. So Hoshi and this guy, I guess his name is Hamboyan. This is what's written on his arm there. He gets out first.
Now, I got a problem with that. Go back to when we see Hoshi. One more. There you go. So the hole on her head is from the parasite, but it's on the opposite side now.
But that was the second
maybe
dose.
They did two. Okay.
Yeah, first dose on this side, second dose here.
You don't want to use the same hole twice, I guess.
No.
There's definitely a joke there, but I'm not going there.
You already made it.
Jody's life advice.
Never use the same hole twice, boys.
Yeah.
Not in the same session.
So then I think this other Mako lady, she gets hit in the chest at one point, you know, and goes back. And
she takes it like a champ, though.
Yeah.
Because when you see her teleport on, she's kind of limping off, but she's like, yeah, okay, it's fine. I'm good.
Yeah, she doesn't seem too much distress here. You know, she looks like she's hurt.
She looks like she's having a hard time.
Yeah.
Maybe a chest fracture. Yeah.
Gonna get it out here. But she got shot like real, right? Like, and then he's gonna get shot here, Hayes, in a moment when he gets beamed out.
He gets shot as he's being transported. So maybe he's already kind of in a weakened state when he gets shot.
Normally, you know, most times in Star Trek, when you're already starting to beam out, you normally can't be shot once. You know. Yeah,
this is the older version of the
transporter. These are older transporters, so maybe
they don't have that buffer or whatever.
Maybe the new transporters have like a safety thing where
nothing can enter the beam after.
Right.
Yeah.
But these ones don't.
Right.
Because they're not even meant for humans.
This is actually a cargo one. Technically
meant for cargo, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess so. And they're like, we're going to invent a function for Major Hayes, so make sure that doesn't happen again. So he was the reason, the practical reason it got invented. And then he beams over here, and then he goes, "Ow!"
Well, he was in mid transport. He probably didn't even feel it until he like rematerialized. And he's like, "Wow, thanks for rematerializing me, asshole."
I really liked that because you think he's gotten away because you've seen it in Star Trek 1,000 times, right?
Right. But not this one.
No, these transporters suck.
Yeah, and
I wonder why everybody doesn't want to go in them.
We're ready to deploy the weapon or arm the weapon we get from the reptilians here, and
their arming process takes forever.
Yeah, it took a while to get going here.
It's like a 3-hour event here, apparently.
So Archer says, fly as close to there as you can, avoid the anomalies, and so they're chasing it down, still trying to attack it, but the sphere now, I think they open a vortex and they escape here with the insectoids.
Yeah,
right. And so they're gone. And
which I love Archer's look on his face when that happens. Though he's just like, oh fuck, this was all a waste of time at this point. Oh shit.
Well, why didn't they beam a team, also another Mako team, into the sphere, into the weapon?
I'm not sure.
Because isn't that what their next plan is, to go track?
Well, they got a lot of Makos still standing around.
Yeah, we saw there was 6 of them doing nothing.
Yeah. And why now is he only taking 3? And why is one of those people not the one that Hayes says to
use?
Yeah,
right. There's a lot of questions about these.
Like it's just another fucking.
I think actually the woman is the one that he was talking about, though. The one that got shot.
I think he was saying she's their second in command.
She's the second in command, yeah, because we saw her. She was in the episodes where they were doing like the training,
right?
And is
that the one that
fighting with somebody?
But isn't who was the one that was making eyes with Trip and was kind of like
that was her?
That was her. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Or at least
Daniel
I think that was her.
Daniel Day Kim kind of comes in and out here in the season as one of the Makos, but he's not in this episode.
No, he just kind of shows up whenever.
Yeah, but anyway, I digress. We're back on the scene here now where Hayes dies, and you can look this look from Phlox, like the look on Phlox.
You already know that this guy's gone. Like
he can't save him.
He can't save him. He can't do shit.
Why Phlox can't save him? I don't know, but he simply can't. So
just
it's
too much damage or something. He doesn't have a slug for this. All of his slugs are being used for something else. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, like Phlox is just looking down, going, nope.
He's like, I got other things to do, bud. You
Yeah.
better wrap this up.
Yeah. And so I think Hayes like, take care of my team, okay, or whatever. And he's like, don't be talking like that. That's an order.
Yeah, the typical
Yeah.
trope there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Order.
And then he dies.
I do like that he goes into full arrest though, and then
Goes full arrest. And
Phlox is like, I'll give it a try with the battles, but I'm not going to try hard. Like I'm just gonna kind of try, and yeah, it's fine. No, he's dead.
yeah. He goes, nope.
As soon as I hear that tone, it's
Yeah.
over.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm done. Yeah. Somebody wash these goddamn paddles. I'm done.
Yeah. I think like you could have done a little more.
I think
Phlox,
Phlox was a little underused in this episode.
considering, like he has to treat Hoshi and Hayes in this episode, and he's not in it a lot.
And all he says is like, Hoshi will be fine. She'll have full recovery.
Yeah, we're coming up to that scene.
Yeah.
Here we got back Archer's talking to the Arboreal and to the Primate guy about where they're headed. It's going to take them 10 hours to get to Earth. And I think this is where they're like, we can take Degra's ship and catch up, right? I think this is part of that discussion.
And I like how Trip's like, well, then why are we standing here?
Oh, and the Zindi guys are like, you have to make good on your promise to the Aquatics and take down the spheres.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like the Aquatics have already had a massive loss at this point.
But to Kevin's point, this could be tabled until after the Earth.
It could
thing.
be, but I also understand why he kind of has to do it now. I
Right.
get it.
Yeah, that's the deal he made. So, and the Aquatics don't care. They're just
No, because the Aquatics have already proven that they're kind of they're Sweden. Like they don't give a shit. Like
Right.
they're both ways.
they're doing this to save themselves more so.
Yeah,
than to
they're
be-
more interested in themselves than anybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, so they come up with the plan. We're going to go here. I think this is where Reed goes to talk to the Makos. He's to tell them Hayes has died.
Yeah, and he's like, I need 3 volunteers, and then like everybody steps forward.
Yeah, 3 people step forward. Everyone steps forward. No, everyone steps forward. And he goes, actually, you 3.
Yeah.
I know you all volunteered, but
I'm only going to take you.
Some of you
and
are better
because
than
those are the
others.
only guys I know. Yeah.
yeah, or you're the only 3 I've learned your names. So he's like you.
But at this point, would it really make a difference if they bring 10 or they bring 3? Like, how much room is on Degra's ship? Degra's ship wasn't small. Like, it
right.
Was, it was big enough. You could cram a good 10.
You can take all the
there.
Makos.
Yeah, you can take them all if you needed to.
Or at least like you can leave 2 behind, maybe, but like or something. But anyway, this is he only takes a handful of them, and then he's like he tells the others to the 4 that get left behind here.
He doesn't say anything.
He doesn't say anything. He just kind of walks out. Yeah,
He's like, they're like, well, why didn't you pick us? And he doesn't explain it. And so that's
like, I don't have time for this shit. And then he leaves.
I'm out of here. And he leaves. This is where Archer goes to see Hoshi and Phlox in sickbay. About he wants to wake her up. And
I do like this interaction between him and Phlox because Phlox is like, you can't move her, and he's like, I don't have a fucking choice. Put her on the ship.
Yeah,
I want
her on that
I
ship
want her
in
on the
20
ship.
minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Get her on there.
Yeah,
And he's like, well, at least let me come. And he's like, nope. You need to be. You're supposed to be on the ship.
well, so is Archer.
Yeah, of course.
Like that's
But
sort of
Archer's got this personal vendetta thing now, right? Like he feels
He's like-
responsible for the human race at this point.
He's like, Phlox, you're needed here. I'm like, Phlox is arguably needed on the mission just as much.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know, like if it was McCoy, he'd be going on the mission. He wouldn't be staying behind,
No. But we also know that really Phlox doesn't have any other medical staff, so it probably makes more sense to keep him with the general population than it is for the little offshoot people that are going somewhere else. So in a way, I kind of understand this logic.
Well, that's why I always thought like maybe they should have had a second character in sickbay, like somebody to stay behind.
He should have had like a nurse or a helper or something like that, like a
better
chapel.
than Kess
He needs a chapel. Yeah.
or a Kess.
No, not a Kess. Kess can fuck right off. Kess is one of the reasons why I don't like Voyager.
Yeah,
He should have subbed in Tom Paris here. He was already
Paris
there.
would have been fine.
He was there on set.
He's already there.
Yeah, because
Maybe that's how he earns his plates.
Archer says, just tell Reed how to treat her, how to treat Hoshi. He's like, she's not a doctor. He goes, I don't care. Like,
I don't care. I got shit to do.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
And then,
but it shows you how fixed he is on trying to get this problem solved, right? Like he's like, I don't give a fuck about all your little problems here, guys. Like, I got a bigger problem, and it's that big hooch fucking thing that's gonna kill everybody. You know, I don't have time for this shit.
get the final scene here with the Zindi where the reptilian, the insectoid calls. He goes, "Hey, isn't it fun how the anomalies work to our advantage?"
Just so you know, Sam, you're completely wrong.
Kess and Neelix are good separately, are they?
No.
So
They're terrible characters.
I think Kess is a better character than Neelix. But
I don't know about that. But anyway,
yeah. It was more than good fortune. Yeah, he's just like, the human claims the Guardians control the spheres. The humans didn't kill Degra. You did. You know.
Which at this point now I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to like the insectoids?
Well, I think this is to reinforce that the reptilians are the worst of the worst. Like they're the.
Well, we kind of already knew that though.
I like how animated this insectoid is.
Like, I love him though. He's
pointing
just like,
and he's like,
"Screw you,
you motherfucker!" You know, you killed Degra.
You know, Degra, you asshole. Yeah.
And I've completely supported you for like the last couple days, but now I'm starting to think again.
I'm kind of looking like a jackass now.
Yeah,
and he's like, "It doesn't matter. You won't need to care much longer."
Yeah, and he's just like, target them, and again his lieutenant's like, "What? You know?
Did you just tell me to log on to the insectoids?" Yeah.
Guy, they're our only buddies left. Yeah, he goes, "Target those insectoids, fire!" You know, that's exactly.
Dave definitely does that voice also. All right, anyway,
I'm going with that Christopher McDonald. Yeah, and we see you later, insectoid guy.
Yeah, he just like bounces off the fucking weapon and he's dead.
Boom.
Poor guy.
And so, yeah, we get back here where they're loading up Degra's ship. Mako's Hoshi on a stretcher. And Trip's like, "Hey, Malcolm, can you bring me back a piece of like a souvenir from the weapon?" And he says, "Yes." I'm like, I feel like you guys have bigger problems.
Like, my pleasure.
Yeah, I will bring you back a souvenir. I like he's going on a vacation. Bring me back a souvenir, like a bag
war trophy,
or a postcard.
Right? It's a war trophy. You know, it's like the same reason why guys were bringing back German guns in World War II. Same idea.
And then this is the parting of ways where Trip and T'Pol are going to be left on Enterprise, and Archer's going off on this mission. And
then Archer's like, keep him in line or something like that.
I expect you to keep him in line.
Yeah,
I'll do my best.
I expect you to keep him in line. I'll do my best.
She's gonna do more than keep him in line. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then they leave. And
literally they end the episode where I kind of didn't want them to do that, and now I want to watch the next episode, but I
was like, I want to see what happens next.
I can't do that. Yeah.
So guys, those are the screenshots. We ran through the plot.
All right, let's do a quick let's do some fun facts, I guess. All right,
Jody.
Okay, as we already mentioned, this episode is directed by Robert Duncan McNeil, who played Tom Paris in Star Trek Voyager. We already knew that. This is also the final episode of the series for which he actually directs. He didn't come back for season 4, so this is the last episode that he did. This episode did win an Emmy Award for Outstanding Special Visual Effects for a Series. So there you go. The reactor aboard the Zindi weapon is a combination of two props seen previously in the series. The core formerly used as a Romulan mine and minefield. So there you go.
All right.
That core is something we've already seen. And the outer rings used to be the ship's gymnasium in Vanishing Point. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, I assume just have to.
Yeah. Scott McDonald, which is Dave's new favorite person.
Right.
Has appeared in all Star Trek television spin-offs. His most frequent Star Trek role was that of the Zindi Reptilian Commander Dolam during the 3rd season of Enterprise. He's also played the roles of Tosk in Captive Pursuit, 1993, Galactor in Hippocratic Oath, Commander Novak in Faces of the Enemy, and Ensign Rollins in Caretaker.
Reptilians prefer to be near the ground.
True. Stephen Culp, who plays Major Hayes, previously played Commander Martin Madden, Jean-Luc Picard's first officer in Star Trek Nemesis.
It's a deleted scene, doesn't count, not canon.
But his scenes were deleted in the final film. Yep. All right. I didn't know that, though. T'Pol calls Charles Tucker III Trip for the first time in the series in this episode. I think one of you guys mentioned that one.
Will that continue?
Yeah, in the next one. The parasites used on Hoshi were similar to the effects of the SETI eels that were put in Chekhov's ears in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which also made their victims more compliant. So there you go. But they're everywhere, those things. And what else do we got? This is also the final appearance of Stephen Culp, which plays Major Hayes. There was some confusion over the nature of Major Hayes' death as he was shot in mid-transport. One other person shot in mid-transport was Captain Archer in the show's opener, Broken Bow Part 1, but he wasn't injured. In this case, the first energy shot hit him while the second one went right through. This might have happened because enough of Hayes was still there for the first shot to hit him. So there you go. I guess that's the reason why. Anyway, so because there was 2 shots, right? So they're saying the first shot hit him and then the second shot went through him.
Okay, I'll accept it.
I like our theory better.
Whatever. He's dead.
No protection built in. Yeah, he's dead either way. Anyway, that's it. That's all we need.
All right, a couple questions here from Sam, including who's the best actor who has directed episodes like of these. So what's like who of the Star Trek alumni?
Well, I think this was a great episode, personally. Yeah. I think if you're going to just take it in a general scheme of things, I think Jonathan Frakes probably has done the best episodes.
Frakes, I think we've seen some great work from LeVar Burton in the past, although we've seen some stinkers from LeVar Burton too.
Oh, some big stinkers from LeVar Burton. Yeah.
You know, I don't know, like because like the director doesn't write the episode, right? So if
he just makes the vision. Yeah.
If an episode is not a good, like a director can only make a good, like an episode so good, right? You know, like he can get the most out of a performance or maybe some angles, but if the episode's bad, it's bad.
I think it's also luck of the draw too. Like if they agree to, do direct an episode, they don't necessarily get to pick what episode they direct. They just,
not usually. No, it's usually whatever order you're in the rotation. So
yeah, exactly. So next week's episode, which is the season 3 finale, which is called 0 Hour. With the weapon on its way to Earth, Archer leads a small team to intercept it before they can strike. T'Pol leads Enterprise on a mission to destroy one of the spheres in the Expanse. So basically, nothing we didn't already know was going to happen.
No. So did Tim Russ direct an episode? Not that I can remember.
I don't think he has, but I could be wrong.
I don't remember ever seeing his name in the credits. He might have directed a Voyager episode, maybe. But anyway, guys, you want to get to the ratings?
Let's do it.
All right. What are you guys thinking? Jody, count.
You know what? This is a solid episode that kept me constantly wanting more of the episode. I'm gonna do 9.5 on this episode. I think it was really good.
Adam, we're not sure. I liked this. I think this is a 9-something. 9.5. I'll go with you, Jody.
9-something.
Well, at the risk of being boring, it's a 10.
There you go.
This story is great.
So we rated it definitely higher than IMDb did.
IMDb has an 8.5. So no, not much higher than last week's episode. Although we seem to like it more.
I think it's action packed. I think it doesn't slow down really at any point that I really care about. So I think overall, I think it was well executed.
I was thoroughly entertained all the way through.
Yep. Who would have thought? How long have we been doing this for, Dave?
Sorry,
probably a year and a half now. We've been doing this Enterprise at 8. Maybe 2.
Not 20 years. I was about to say 20.
No, it wasn't 20 years. No.
Hold on. I have to look it up. When was our first podcast?
Do you actually know the first one?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can look it up. The date was December 6th, 2021 when we started.
Oh, there you go. So about a year and a half, somewhere around there. So a year and a half ago, did we think that Kevin was going to give any 10s to any episode?
I love how we've converted him, and now he's like the biggest Enterprise.
He's actually the bigger advocate than everybody else now.
He gives out 10s like they're candy. His average for this season is 8.0. He's higher than anybody else this season.
What's my average right now?
It's been a great
season. Your average 7.6. I'm at a 7.6 as well. I'm the same as you. Okay. So we're not that much. We're not that much lower, but
Kevin's been converted, man.
Davan's averaging
That's
5.5 this season because he's only come in for like a handful of episodes that he hated. So
Yeah, well, he has that. We already know how I feel about his rating. But anyway,
can we
They
believe
seem
we're
to
starting
do well
season
at the?
four?
Oh, sorry.
Just I'm asking. Can you believe season 4?
Yep, we'll be doing season 4. So what are we doing for the next episode? Because
Well,
Adam's away.
We had to. Part of what our discussion today with Adam was going to be figuring out when we were going to do the finale. So
yeah, it was supposed to be, and that's the reason why we did it on a Wednesday instead.
Right. We had originally talked about doing both episodes tonight. I'm glad we didn't because Adam's not here.
Adam's not here.
Yeah. So we'll
but
have to
Adam's going to be Adam's traveling on a personal vacation. I think
for 2 more weeks. So
2 more weeks. So this might be a little hard. We might have to just go without him. I don't know. Your decision.
Hopefully not. Like we'll see. Like I like to get the season 3 sort of wrapped up, sooner than later while it's in our heads. So
yeah,
it'll be what it will be. So we'll work it out with Adam and then we'll
figure it out. Anyway, check your local listings.
Yes, check your listings.
Always subscribe, and then you'll know when the next episode's coming. Then you won't matter. But speaking of subscriptions, Dave, there's so much content on this channel that you can subscribe to.
That's right, Jody. We got all kinds of great podcasts here on this channel known as Live Long and Podcast, with various different Star Trek podcasts, different themes, different divisions. Like we do episode reviews, but we also will play Star Trek video games and kind of show
you were
that
doing
stuff
that earlier
off.
today, I think.
We were doing, the Risa Festival started on Star Trek Online. So exciting stuff every summer.
I know you were trying to teach Davan how to dance at one point.
I was trying to teach him how to dance and how to, fly a floater around on Risa and power board. So it's a work in progress. But we're getting there. And then it was a real short. I just did it on lunch today just to quickly run through that with him. And then also, just while we're on the episode reviews too, tomorrow night we'll be talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the newest episode.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Kevin, have you seen that intro where I credit you? If you
Ashley told me about it, I haven't seen it yet.
I'll show it to you after the show. Okay.
I don't think I've seen it either because I think I keep jumping in after you guys have already started.
Yeah, I'll show it to you guys after the show.
Cool.
Anyway, so we'll be on for Strange New Worlds, episode 3 of season 2 tomorrow. I think it's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow. So check that out. Tomorrow.
Oh, okay, good.
And tomorrow.
Oh,
and tomorrow.
And tomorrow. All right.
Yeah. And there was just some. I think we're going to be doing. We just did debate our Class L Probe with Davan, and we got some other Star Trek podcasts coming up. We're part of United Federation of Podcasts, a great network of podcasts, all kinds of different topics and interests that we hope you will check out.
It's not just Star Trek.
Not just Star Trek. We talk about stuff like on Super Mario Brothers. We talk about stuff like Big Brother, Survivor. Sometimes
they're brothers.
Marvel. We talk about brothers. We have the X-Men podcast through Davan and Andre doing X-Rated, the animated series. They go through all those episodes. Graphic Histories podcast, Andre, where he interviews people from film and TV and comic books and all kinds of interesting interviews, long format audio podcast. Check that out. Hold Up, a movie podcast with Davan and Murphy on Wednesdays. Would have been tonight, but
I'm going to be on the next one talking about boats.
Boats.
Oh yes, Das Boat and
Captain Ron.
No, not Captain Ron.
No,
we replaced Captain Ron with Das Boot.
Oh, should have been Captain Ron. And then
American president.
Yeah, exactly. Eamon on track. I think Eamon will be coming up with a new episode soon. I know I have to.
I hope so. I've been enjoying them.
I'm slated to do another one with him. I think we're going to do The Last Waltz in the near future. And I think those. Did I miss anything? I think those are all our shows. Trivial Debates. I think we have an Office themed episode coming up soon,
which I think I'm going to be on.
Yeah, so
I'm not.
Jason Phillips going to host.
Yeah. But I love The Office. So.
Yeah, check that out, guys. So thanks for being with us. And I think I think this whole exchange here between Phlox and Archer at the end is what we'll go out with. Live long and podcast, everybody.
She's in no condition to be moved. I don't have any choice, Doctor. You could kill her. I want her on that ship in 20 minutes. She'll need another cortical treatment. At least let me come with you. There's a medical bay aboard Degra's ship. Show Lieutenant Reed how to do it. He's not a doctor. Phlox, you need it here.
See you next time.